Welcome back to the classroom. I am Adam, the horror historian, and today we are going over one of my favorites yet again. We're touching on Haunting Ground. This game was my very first collector's game, and when I bought it, I actually got it for dirt cheap, which is kind of shocking because now it goes for a significant sum of money. I fell in love with the story, the characters, the lore. When I get in conversations about PS2 horror games that I adore, this happens to be one high on the list. We can talk about the different stalkers, we can talk about how screwed up the whole thing with Ricardo was. Of course, we can talk about Huey, the best boy in gaming. There is one thing we don't talk about though, and that is Fiona. Matter of fact, she's rarely talked about. Why is that? What are we missing? Have we all been sleeping on Fiona as a character? And what about her backstory? Here's the problem. There isn't going to be a lot going on with her and her backstory. It doesn't mean there isn't a lot of things we can glean, but damn, it's not as easy to work with. Unlike Daniela, who was perfect to talk about. We did a whole video on her. Go check it out. Fiona's look prior to the events of the game is rather boring. A plain white shirt, knee-length brown skirt. She looks professional, something I would have seen in any office. If you're a fan of horror movies like I am, there is something about this look that should strike a chord with you. She is the final girl. Though there isn't a cast of characters that die around her, she still fits some of the archetypes that we've seen in slasher movies. And she also manages to fit the trope of the wholesome token as well. Let's establish what some of this actually means. The final girl should be self-explanatory, but let's break it down anyways. As a character, the final girl is usually the hero of the story, though often reluctantly. She's often the one who is established more as sweet than sexy, and most definitely the damsel in distress. I know the first person that most people think about for this is Laurie Strode from the Halloween series, but I'm going to say that there's a better fit in this case. Friday the 13th, Part 2 has a character named Jenny. And I feel like she is a better fit for Fiona than Laurie for one simple reason. In the movie Halloween, the reason why Laurie survives comes down to determination and blind luck. Well, Jenny actually uses her education in order to outthink Jason, not the hardest thing to do, and the situation as a whole. That is Fiona. An educated woman. Her parents are teachers, and she apparently is skilled at playing music. One of the focal points of the game is the puzzle. Even the boss fights are puzzles in this game. So the fact that she has to outsmart the situation speaks to the idea that she has brains over brawn. Even when we look at her, we get a pretty clear view of her since there's a section of the game where she wears nothing but a sheet. She isn't the most physically fit person. Since we're on this part, yes, I am fully aware. This is the case of a female in video games being sexualized, but it's actually kind of important to the plot that we will have to hit on when talking about one of the stalkers later on. She quickly gets a costume change, something that clearly she is not the most comfortable wearing. She befriends Huey, the best boy, like I said before. And throughout the game, we see her progress from a scared woman to seeing her fight back, but in her own way. Similar to the way the final girl changes over the course of a film. The real bits of information that set Fiona apart, different than any other character stuck in this kind of situation, is her family line. We know her parents are dead. One by a car crash we see, and later we learn that her father, Hugo, was killed by Ricardo at the same time.
Ugo is no more.
Hey, Adam here. There was a late update to this. I was doing some extra research because I didn't want to say anything out of pocket. And I found a video that actually has a little bit more information on what was going on in the car. Kind of changed how I viewed this whole section of the game. I'm actually going to put in that whole section from the video. It's by an amazing creator called Boulder Punch. I highly recommend his videos. Here it is.
Cover those, there's a really interesting finding that I only just discovered when putting together this video. In the ending credits, there's a conversation that happens between Fiona's parents, as confirmed by the composer. It's hard to hear, but when you see the lyrics, it really paints her parents in a different light. It seems that Fiona's mother was seeking her Azoth. How did she know about it? Was she aware of the Bellies' work throughout the centuries? Who was she exactly? This is never expanded on. Some of the wording is fairly vague on whether Fiona's father was okay with this. This also gets me to see the game in a different light. Was it just by happenstance that at the beginning of the game we were close by the castle when the accident happened? Where were they heading? Were they going to the castle? This is left open-ended.
This is where the game kind of loses people. Ugo, her father, and Ricardo are basically the same person. There is some cope going online about how Ricardo is basically her uncle, but I'm sorry. You're wrong. Ugo is a clone made through the alchemy of Lorenzo, who himself was a clone. Ugo left the castle. That's right, the very castle that we are in is part of her family heritage. But because Ugo left, Lorenzo made another clone, and that was Ricardo. Though this time he wasn't made perfectly, and we can see that in his appearance. This basically makes them the same person. There is something passed down through the clones in abundance, and that is something called Azoth. The Belli line has a concentration of this, and it's basically the essence of life. Ugo was in abundance of it, and so it was passed down to Fiona. Ricardo, on the other hand, has a very limited amount. His motivations is to continue the family line through what is called the wet method, which calling it that makes it so much worse. We see in one cutscene and in one of the bad endings that Ricardo plans on impregnating Fiona. I'm just going to let that sit there for a second.
Ah, you're up. Fiona, I've decided you shall give birth to me. Don't worry, I do not intend to kill you. If you would just lend me your womb.
What?
I shall be born again, this time with your Azoth.
A clone of her grandfather, who is the exact same as her father except with little Azoth, wants to get her pregnant in order to preserve the family line. That's some real royal family nonsense right there. After she defeats her family, the crazy ass maid, and basically gone through hell, we get to see something a bit more about her. And that is her high level of compassion. At the end, we walk out of the castle. If you manage to get the best ending, there's a slight difference. Debilitas is still alive, the first stalker we deal with in the game. The best ending is determined right at the very beginning of the game, and it's how we end up dealing with the first boss fight. We have an option of killing him outright, or making it so the chandelier falls and pins the big man. So later when we leave, we see Debilitas gardening peacefully and understanding that we are to be left alone after our encounter. And that was the basic overview of Fiona Belli. Again, the game doesn't say a ton about her backstory, and frankly I can see why people would rather talk about someone like Daniela than Fiona. It's a far easier subject, considering Fiona is meant to be the everyman. Think Ethan from Resident Evil Biohazard. Still, she's an interesting character when you take some time and actually get to know her a little bit. Anyways, thank you so much for watching the video. If you did like it, please like and share. Subscribe if you can. Until next time, long days, pleasant nights, and may you have twice the number.